So I'll give you a little bit of background information, kind of hopefully talk into something that you might be able to tap into, and then kind of give you a demonstration of how the product works or what it helps us figure out. So we deal with, over my career, I've been the director of EMS for 5 years. I've been working with Salem Fire for 21, in my 22nd year now. So in that time, as you might imagine, we've seen medical emergencies that have gone from somewhat complex to extremely complex, and now you just never know what you're going to get. Going back to when I first started as a medic, if you went to the ER, they'd go, when the doctor would walk in and go, I'm dealing with chest pain, he'd go over to a piece of paper, pull out the chest pain paperwork workup, and he would start filling in boxes from there, leave the room, go order some tests, run the test, look at the results, and then kind of go from there. We don't have that luxury in the back of an ambulance, and as things have become more and more complex, it's become more of a challenge. About 6-7 years ago, a pediatric physician, emergency room physician from Florida, his name is Dr. handtevy. He used to struggle with remembering medications, dose sizing, how heavy a patient would be by age, and all of these different factors that go into what we do in the back of an the back of an ambulance. And he actually had this little hand system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he kind of used to use that as his dosing. Like at the age of 1, you would, like, it was just a different type of system. Over the years, he's developed this system into an app-based product, and it actually ties in. It's an application that we would have on an iPad that we already bring for patient signatures, patient information, our EPCRs. And if we're dispatched for, let's say, a 5-year-old for some type of a medical problem, we can just click 5-year-old, and we'll start to get information based off of that. So there's kind of two ways to look at. You can use like a length-based tape to get an estimate of how much somebody's going to weigh, or they do it weight-based or age-based. What they've found over the years is that age-based is just as accurate as weight-based as a tape model. So we know walking in that we're going to use this size of equipment, this size of dose. I'll show you what that looks like. And so it was one of those things that it kind of became really a product that just has tied in with our own protocols. They look at our medications that we carry, our equipment we carry, and they cater it to us so that when we walk into a situation, we know what's going on. Over the past couple of years, they've actually adopted any cardiac arrest. So as you might imagine, that when we start trying to run a cardiac arrest, a lot of people have someone that just does documentation, that has a list of things you're supposed to do, and we get to develop that list as it applies to Salem Fire. One of the projects I'm working on right now is to try to do a community-based approach. So pre-hospital CPR, pre-emergency CPR or education, pre-arrival to EMS CPR, AED access, all of those types of things, and then carrying it forward with what we do and the skills we provide and what we monitor, and then globally or community-wide looking at an approach. So I just brought a sample of kind of what we have and what we carry. Again, this is a much smaller, but flip open this little bag, and here's this tape that we're going to carry, and we're going to come over here to this baby, and we're going to put this up at their head and go, well, we're about 5 kilograms. And that 5 kilograms, when you look at that, I'll kind of hold this up for everybody. Imagine trying to read that. So this has on one side all of our doses for lidocaine, ag sulfate, and on the other side you're going to see your doses for epinephrine. And epinephrine is probably the one that's probably most likely, and so it starts to for allergic reactions. And so when we start looking at this, you can kind of see how you might go.
No, that's awful.
Right,
Yeah.
good.
How you might go, blind just trying to read that.
Right, for sure.
Not only that, but
I can't read it.
You don't want to get it wrong. You know?
you can see that one of the things is that they actually have documented with this product is that medication mistakes have gone way down. So if your epinephrine is kind of one of the most classic ones that we use in a cardiac arrest, but they also have a dosing that's for allergic reactions, and then they have one for cardiac arrest. And so the same thing exists on this other side for all the different levels of equipment that you might have. So, and I would bring these out because I think it's oddly weird that they're kind of cute. But these are the things that we would use for an oral airway. This is what we're gonna put in their mouth to hold their tongue out of their way, so that when we actually help them breathe. And this is just 3 sizes. And so the same thing would exist for something that would go in their nose. So we have, these are a little bigger, all these different sizes for this type of equipment. And all these different sizes for the little tubes that we might put down into their throat going from this little itsy bitsy thing. And so the difference between that size of a child and 10 pounds heavier might be something a little bit different. And so here's a full dose for an adult. And then when we go down in size, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And so when we start doing this, it's not 0.1 mils, we actually have to take another syringe and draw some amount up to make that match. That's all a calculation that we go 5 kilograms times 0.1, or it's 0.5. And everything becomes a little bit different. And if we're off by a little bit, it means if we're off by a tenth, it could be, you know, something that's dramatically different. And I'm trying to create that kind of dramatic effect that there's a lot of stuff going on when we're trying to manage any type of an emergency. And the upside of this product is it really has a way of helping us with adults, kids, and everything in between. The real focus was kids because we're talking about size of equipment, but on adults it gets us to manage on a step-by-step list. You gave one epi 5 minutes ago, it's time for another epi, a lot of those things that exist.
So the app that you get is good for so many years. When you purchase it, it's good for so many, whatever you purchase it for, it's good for that. So any updates?
Has to renew and updates.
Updates, changes to protocol, changes to our, what changes from parking that we get for our medications, they would then change.
They would do the updates for you, yeah.
And would that go on all the iPads that are at the station?
It would go on all the iPads that are on the ambulances.
Okay, the ambulances.
And
So
that
there's
would be-
no, like, you can only do 5 applications.
You buy a certain number of licenses per
Licenses.
truck?
Okay,
Yes.
all right, so.
That would be every truck that we would have. So to kind of give this a breakdown, it's $13,000 for a 3-year subscription and $23,000 for a 5-year. So this is a way of getting kind of an ingrained kind of approach into the community. And so if we could split this between so right off the bat, we got $2,000, just a little bit shy, from another organization that, not to give them a little bit of limelight, I don't have the name of the organization, but they lost a child, they raised a lot of money down in Florida to support this product, and they buy half of a first-year subscription for anybody that can actually,
Yeah.
to make that happen. I think it's a really cool thing. We've had a couple fundraisers like that in town for other products that we've used for kids. So, but this really is a way of us being able to say, we did this exactly at this time during the event, and we can improve on that if there's room for improvement. Hopefully all 4 groups come together and say, okay, if it's gonna cost us, $13,000 that all 4 groups could go, we'll give you 1/4, or we'll give you 5, like,
That'd be good, yeah.
to literally, if this comes down, I'm gonna start selling grocery, like bakery items on the side of the road. I have been very passionate about this product for 4 years now, is I will start to do that funding, the grant applications if I can find them, and I'll start to do what we have to do. If, I don't know the financial status of your organization, but if you said, we can give you $50 or $5,000 or anything in between, we'll then develop the rest of the funding through another avenue. The state of New Hampshire actually came really close in our latest protocols to mandating it. They put it in as we highly recommend a pediatric-based application that can do what handtevy can do. And then the next step 5 years from now will be this, like, we were hopeful the state would buy it for the entire state. It's not a small purchase for larger communities like us. I think Derry's using it, Concord's using it, Londonderry, Wyndham might be using it, so it's kind of, some towns it's
Mandatory on their side.